really, what are some or a few of the things God has began to do in their hearts, move in their hearts, resurrect and cultivate in their hearts, and they're sharing that with us, really as a way to give testimony and, in a sense, begin to communicate with a community that they have not been with for the last 40 days. Now, the awesome thing is that these people, I don't want to speak for everybody, but many of them, hopefully all of them, but probably not all of us, have been praying for you regularly over the last 40 days. The reason I say probably not all of us is because some of them are coming because they got invited for the first time. So, with all fairness. But many of us have been praying for you guys. So we're like super excited. Like we feel like we've been a part of the journey with you in our hearts. And now we get to hear some expression of that. So that's really meaningful for us. And hopefully it's meaningful for you all as well. So we just want to hold this space as just real sacred and joyful and honor their sharing. And really just honor what Christ has been doing and is going to continue to do in their hearts and lives. So I'm going to turn over to the instructors, and you can add a little more framing, and then we can jump in.
So some of you have seen return parties before, and some of you may have not. But basically, this team is awesome. A unique team out of 40 teams. And Emily and I had the unique opportunity of leading this as our first 40 as instructors. So they were incredibly competent, incredibly loving. It was an amazing, joy-filled time. And yeah, just the amount of connection that we experienced throughout the course, that was our course theme, was connection. Because we really wanted to draw close to God and draw close to his heart and learn to hear his voice. Yeah, so I'm just going to let their words speak for themselves. And
So, hi, my name is Hannah. So I had a really crazy trip. This trip was very long, 40 days. It was twice as long as my previous trip, the 20-day one last year. So yeah, this trip, there are very many good things and very many bad things about it. As every course is. So the reason that I came on this course this year, as I said before, I'd gone on the 20 last year, and I had a really great experience, and I wanted to do it again. And I was also looking for possibly more time with the Lord, away from distractions that we experience in the front country, so that I could, possibly get an answer for, like, future possibilities, because I was kind of looking into college, I was looking into the military, not really sure what I wanted to do. And one thing that I remember learning from the Lord, there was one day where, I don't know if it was from a Devo or just from some of my personal readings, but I remember reading through Psalms, and I came upon Psalms 40, 28 to 31 that I wanted to read. And it says, "Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might he increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up the wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." And this verse, or this passage, was really important to me just because I had been wondering, like I said before, what I was going to do in the future years. And on my solo, actually, I remember praying to God and just wondering, like, so what's up? What's going to happen? What am I going to do? What do you have plans for me? And the Lord said, wait. And I waited for a while. And this trip was had a very big emphasis on patience for me. Just patience in the Lord and patience in the trip and waiting to see what the Lord has for me. Seem to have lost my notes.
Well, I'm Emily Cable, and I had the privilege of being the lead instructor on this team, and it was definitely a privilege. I'm very grateful for each of the people behind me. They're incredibly diverse, and I think even it was displayed in the music selection of our slideshow. Yeah, just like such a unique team to come together in a really beautiful way of love and unity, incredibly positive, unnaturally so at times. But yeah, it was amazing. So first of all, I just want to say thank you, the team. Thanks for being obedient to the Lord. Come, be here. Thank you to my Andrew. It was amazing. Andrew's an incredible man, and he is just growing so much in the Lord and pursuing Him. And so it's just an honor to lead with Andrew. I'm so thankful for our support staff driving us, bringing us food, redoing some rations for us, bringing us extra windscreens, lots of stuff. So thank you guys. You do a lot of work behind the scenes that nobody knows about. And full-time staff, thanks. Without you, wouldn't be here. All the work that goes throughout the whole year to lead up to this season, few months, it's a lot of effort. So thank you guys, full-time staff. Yeah. So the trip. Dun, dun, dun. I shall start with one simple story. We were sitting on a glacier high in the mountains. I was with Jacob Schmelwick and Andrew Schindler. We were cooking up a fine dinner, and then we ate a fine dinner. At the end of this fine dinner, we all realized we had eaten 5 cups of food, and we were all still hungry. The end. So it was just a great trip of lots of laughter, lots of food. At times the food was like getting a little old, but it's okay. And my heart on this trip, you could say, grew 3 sizes that day. I think that it was just a unique journey because I think frequently for me in the past with these types of trips, I've started off pretty stoked, excited to meet the team, just really looking forward to what the Lord's going to do. But then as the course goes on, not lose that excitement, but just physically kind of feel more drained as I'm putting out more effort and things. This trip was really quite the opposite. I started off feeling pretty low. I had a pretty deep dullness in my heart. I was, in some senses, kind of feeling numb. I really, really wanted to engage, but it's like the emotion wasn't there. And so I think for those first 2 weeks in particular of the course, the Lord was really faithful in showing His strength in my weakness. He gave me that energy and effort to continue to invest when I didn't feel it. And it really taught me a lot about obedience in that, like, He calls us to love, and it doesn't matter if we feel it or not. And so it was really amazing for me to be able to step into that obedience and see Him be faithful and continue to seek Him, be like, Lord, I want to feel this, and I really want to be here, but I don't right now. And so just seeing his faithfulness in transforming my heart after like day 15 mark. I told Andrew, like, today was the first day I actually didn't think about not wanting to be here. 15 days in. And from that point on, it was just like a gradual progression of opening my heart a little more, and receiving lots of love from these folks. And then I did a Devo actually about giving and receiving love, and how the deep importance of I have to receive before I can give. And so being filled to overflowing was just a beautiful thing. And on my solo, I was writing a letter from God to myself, and it goes like this. My dear Emily, I love you. I'm with you always, and you are free to ask anything of me. I delight to give you good gifts. And this is Ephesians 3:16 through 19. Out of my glorious riches, I will strengthen you with power through my Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your heart through faith, being rooted and established in love. You may have power together with all the saints to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the fullness of all, filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. So Lord really used that passage to speak to my heart of, like, he is indwelling me, and his Spirit continues to minister love to me, and as I grow in that, I'll be able to understand that immense mystery of Christ's love for me, and me being able to give that to other people. So I just want to read a few bullet points. This is my I am statement. For those of you who don't know what an I am statement is, it's basically saying, I believe in Christ. He's my Lord and Savior. And because of that, I have, as that passage said, like all the riches of the fullness of God. And so it's proclaiming something that in Christ I am, but that perhaps I don't see in myself yet, but that I'm growing into. And so this is my I am statement. I was limiting my love by guarding my heart to avoid pain. But now I freely give because my heart is abandoned to the love of Christ. I rest in him, and with joy I delight to engage. And then to engage with the process is to join the journey of vulnerability. To be real, honest, brave, bold. To love is to be vulnerable. Isolation is a trap. Solitude is an invitation. And so I think that really touches on like where I was entering. I was surrounding myself with people, but I was isolating myself. And the Lord was really speaking to me about how solitude and intimacy with him, aloneness with him, is really an invitation to then have greater love and sweetness when I re-engage with people. That the time alone makes the time together sweeter. Consistency makes connection quicker. So just one thing I told my heart, I'm like, Emily, when you feel these things coming up, just let your heart go out. And it's good. So, yeah, thanks, guys.
How's everybody doing? I love all these guys. They're my family, part of my family now. My idea for coming out here, I'm from New Jersey, so my idea for driving out 26 hours was so that I could experience, the outdoors in a way that would restore my heart and my mind. And so, I had that I had certain things instill that in me when I was young. Like my mom, she was into music, and so she used music to do that for her, and my dad used physical exercise. And we got a lot of that actually on the trip. We got a lot lot of physical exercise, and we played a lot of music, which was fun. Um, but like being out in creation, there's something different. Um, there's a space to be able to receive. Um, there's um, there's time to think, about yourself, about God, about who you are. Um, and so that's what I experienced out there with the Father. I experienced that also with myself, and I experienced that with these guys. So that was awesome. Um, I um, I enjoyed being with my temporary family. Um, I mean, we're family, but eventually we're gonna go off on our own. So the reality is that we won't be together, but we'll still be family. Um, and I enjoyed the challenges and the blessings that came with that. Saying it in a nice way, sometimes you get frustrated. um, sometimes. Um, happened a lot actually for me, and it was interesting to have to constantly wake up next to them, um, and then have to cook with them, and then walk with them, and then cook again with them, and then sleep next to them again. So, you know, it was a lot. Um, but the thing that helped me in that was like constantly turning all like the negative thoughts and all the things that were going on in my head, and just being like Lord, you have me here for a reason, and like how can I, how can I like turn this into like something for you, and like as a believer, we're taught to renew our mind, but it's totally different when you're like just with people like 24/7, and so I experienced some restoration and healing just in my heart and my mind because I had to engage with these lovely people, and they are lovely people. I had to engage with them all, and I had to like continually renew my heart before the Lord. My negative emotions, my negative thoughts about myself too. I had to renew those too, and just bring it to God and just be like, I'm being attacked in my mind, but Lord, you're still, the God of the universe, and you're still over my mind and my thoughts and my heart. And so I experienced a lot of restoration and healing, and I'm more of a giving person, I think. I think I'm more of a generous person, I'd like to think. Um, and I think I'm more humble, and I'm not trying to be like, you know, Moses or anything, but like, I mean, if anybody was humble as him, I mean, I don't know if the beard makes me more humble, but anyway, like the the what I'm trying to say is that I experienced that, and I experienced deep change in my heart because of these people, because of God, and because of my intention, which was to experience healing and restoration in my heart, And I want that for other people. I want that for you guys as well. I know you guys care about the wilderness and outdoors, or you've been outdoors. So I want that for you too. And my I am statement was that God delights in me, and God delights in what I do. And for a while, I didn't delight in myself, and I didn't delight in what I did. And so I pray that for you guys as well. I pray a blessing over you guys that you would experience, Lord, just through the testimony that you would just experience the Father's delight over you and over your jobs, over your life, over your vocation, over your personal experiences, or your hobbies, that you would just experience the same love that I experienced. Because, yeah, it's so much better. um, all right. That's it. Yeah, David. Come on, baby.
Okay, well, I'm from Mexico. Well, I live in Mexico. I'm not really from there. But if I get to hold my story, we'll be here until tomorrow. So, about 5 years ago, I heard from Josh Horak over there. Yep. About Solid Rock Outdoor Ministry. And I was like, whoa, that sounds awesome. And for some reason, I thought the 40 days was going to be like what I have to do. It was. But halfway through, I was like, oh man, 20 days sounded way better now. So I heard that when I was 17. I'm 22 years old now. So for 5 years, I've been praying about this and saying, like, Lord, I know you want me to go there, and it's going to be on your time. I want it to be like right now. So I had to wait 5 years. Eventually, December last year, I graduated college and was like, oh yes, finally I get to go, and start praying like, okay, God, now I'm going, but obviously you have something to say to me. This is a new phase in my life. You have to show me what you want from me. I got here with the idea, well, I'm going to 40 days, going back to Mexico, and continue working in software development. No big deal. The first week of the trip, we did this really cool activity that we had to pick up a rock and carry it through the whole dinner in our hand. If we dropped the rock, we had to grab a bigger one. Not fun. It did not happen to me. It happened like to a few of them. They ended up with this huge rock. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. But for those who has been camping, dinner takes 2 hours. And you need 2 hands to do everything. So it got pretty complicated. And by the time we got to this like top of a mountain, they tell us, all right, this rock represents a burden in your heart, something you have been carrying. And God would let you know what it is. When they mentioned that, I knew right away what it was. I was holding on to my desires and to what I wanted for my life. And I did not let God speak to me on what he wanted me to do. So I said, fine, God, I'm going to leave this rock here. And I'm trusting you that you're going to let me know this trip. What is your desires for my life? What should I do next? Because right now I'm going back to Mexico, and obviously I'm not going to work. I'm going to wait on what you has to say. The next week, 2 weeks, complete silence. I was like, okay, why? Eventually we got to our solos. 48 hours completely alone, disconnected from everybody. I thought I was like, oh yes, I'm going to sleep the 48 hours finally. No snoring, people. Little did I know it was going to be windy that night. The next morning it was lovely, so I started reading my Bible. Went through 2 different gospels that day, and surprisingly, God spoke to me. The first thing he says, like, you're going into ministry. Like, okay. With youth. Okay, God, that's youth are complicated. I'll go into ministry, but let older people, please. So I decided to follow that. I said, all right, God, you're taking me to ministry with youth. Where should I go? And eventually the trip kept going on, and I kept hearing answers from him until it was kind of scary. I had full conversations with him, and I will ask things, and right away he will answer. And not always those answers were the ones I wanted. So I ask again and again and again. And the cool thing about God, he doesn't change his mind. So I had to give in. Remember that I said I was going to let my desires go and follow his desires. So I can truly say that this trip completely changed my life. And we were going to put on the slideshow. I asked them not to because I wasn't sure on them on the moment. But I decided to get baptized for a second time in my life. just to mark this as a new beginning. A new beginning that I truly leave the decision making to God, and I just enjoy the walk.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. All right. So, who is familiar with the Stanley star system? Okay. All right. So, we're following Melita's star system. Melita, would you explain, please? Yeah.
So the 5-star system is so let me recall. It's 1 through 5, 5 being the highest.
Mm-hmm.
1 being like, okay, I've planned ahead, I've prepared, all is well, I get to my hole. But like nothing epic, like no nice views. It might even be raining a little, but like just normal is 1. 2 is I've got this all planned out well.
People probably don't all know what Stanley is.
Oh, Stanley. Thank you.
If it's on the live stream, you might as well full disclose.
Stanleying, by the way, is our trowel. It used to be the brand Stanley, but our poop trowel to dig holes outside of camp, to outside the camp, in which to defecate. Right. All right. So, what's that? Oh yeah, totally. Deuteronomy. I don't have the verses memorized. 23:12 Deuteronomy, because God walks in the midst of us and He doesn't want to step on it. It's what it says. So, yes, that's what it says. Deuteronomy 23:12. Cool. So, number 1, uneventful, well planned, well thought out. I've got what I need. It's good. Number 2 is like, it's good. Everything's well planned out, but the view's beautiful. Like, I've had enough time to walk to a spectacular space, and just like, it's not raining or blizzarding. It's just like, yeah, it's like pristine, beautiful. I'm not afraid of someone walking up on me. Like, none of those things. It's just lovely. Number 3 is all of number 2. Maybe beautiful wildflowers yet. Like, the view's just epic. Cool sunset even. But on this one, you see a small game, like a marmot, a ground squirrel, something like this. Number 4 is all of the same, except minus the small game. It's actually now a large game. All right, so like elk, moose, these kinds of grizz. Yeah, I'm so far away from grizz. Or there's some anxiety, yeah, wouldn't be pleasant. And then number 5 is all of those, the large game, the beautiful sunset, beautiful flowers, in the distance a stream, because you got to be far away. Yeah, just like epic scenery. You know no one's going to walk up on you. There's a large game, and the large game make eye contact with you. And at the same time you are Stanleying, you're dropping the deuce. The large game drops the deuce.
Thank you, Melita. All right, so for call it God's will, I got to teach Stanley School. I did not choose this. Stanley School chose me. And when we were packing here, Andrew just came like, "Here, David, here's Stanley. Keep it." I'm like, "Okay." So they won. They won. We went through Stanley School. I hear this amazing star system. I'm like, I need to get 5 stars this trip. I mean, that's my goal. Forget everything else. So, day 4, Bidaboo, so far has been wet, cold, raining every moment, probably snow every now and then. I wake up really early. I'm like, oh, I have to go. This is so annoying. So I get out of the tent. I look at my food group. Say, guys, I'm going to be late for breakfast. Start without me. start walking, and we're on top of a hill. So pretty much everywhere you look, you'll see somebody. So it's like, ugh, I'll have to walk. So it's raining. I have all my rain gear. I'm walking around, and I like, oh, maybe this is a nice spot. No, has rocks. Then keep going. Oh, maybe here. Turn around. There's someone standing. Oh, okay, no. So after walking some more, I'm like, oh no, this has to happen soon. So finally, I go over this tiny like hill, and I see like a nice like tree, well, like a log that you can like hold nicely. Some like some rocks, but right in the middle of the rocks, enough dirt to make a nice hole, and you can see it. It's like a toilet. Like, oh yes, I like this. So I prepare everything. Stops raining. I'm like, oh yes. So I take my rain gear off. The extra layer I had, I put over the log. Like, yes. I turn around, and there's this beautiful sunrise. I'm like, whoa! And you can see the whole valley, and maybe like small lake real far away. And suddenly I see like far enough, but not too far. This animal, I didn't know if it was a deer or what was it. Like, oh yes! And you see, only day 4, guys. So I get all excited, get into position. I'm like, wait, 5 stars. So I go like, and the large game turns around and looks at me. I'm like, it's happening, guys. So I go finish everything, pick my stuff, and I go really happy towards the kitchen. And right away go like, Melita. So I saw this animal, like long head, maybe really big ears or horns. I don't know. It was pretty far. Decent size. How many stars? She was like, dude, I think that's a high 3. Oh man. All right, high 3, day 4. That's good. So we continue cooking breakfast. We are like cleaning everything up, and suddenly, like 20 feet from the kitchen, really close, 2 moose start walking by. And I go to Melita, that's it! I saw those! That's it! I'm like freaking out, and Melita's like, what? Those are 4-star! And meanwhile, everybody else are like, shh, we want to see them. No, guys, I saw them! So I got my 4 stars, guys.
Hannah has to head out. She's going back to Slovenia.
The love is real.
Bye, Hannah. All right, so I did not keep track of my Stanleys, so I can't really top David's story. But when he was talking about there you are. And then when he was talking about that rock thing with the burden, keep that in mind. That's important for my story, not the Stanley one. But so coming into SRAM, I really didn't know what to expect. You know, like I kind of tried to figure it out, but at a certain point I stopped myself because I've done that too much in the past with other things, and it's come back to bite me in the butt. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to show up. I'm going to learn as much as I can, meet as many people as I can, and we're going to see what happens. I'm just going to take it as it comes. and hope for the best and really just pour into the people I'm with and with everything going on, and good luck. And so I showed up. I'm from Indiana, drove out, and I'm here for the whole summer. So I'm doing the Wilderness Minor program, so you'll see me next week too. But so I showed up, we did our woofer course, came into the 40, and I learned a ton. Like all the hard skills, like all this is new to me. So like in Indiana, snow's not bad. Like if it snows, you go sledding, and like you have to be careful when you drive. Like that kind of gets gross. But like so like, learning like how to self-arrest and like how to walk like in a group on a glacier, like all of this stuff is completely new to me. Like I had been to the Rockies and the Smokies and all this stuff, but it's something totally different. So every day I was learning like all of this new stuff, and that alone made the trip worth it, honestly. And like I want to work in wilderness ministry and connecting people to the outdoors. So I was like getting all of this knowledge and everything. I'm just so excited to like share with people when I leave. And I got kind of sidetracked by all of that, and so when I learned all the spiritual stuff, it just kind of like hit me like a sack of bricks. So like leading up to like this whole summer and everything, like I don't want to say like in a funk, but I was in a funk. Things just weren't really feeling right, like between me and the Lord. Like I was still doing everything I needed to do. Like the Lord and I were still like I still love Jesus. I've been in love with Jesus almost my entire life, and that never goes away, for me at least. And so we were just kind of like in a patch where I didn't really feel like deep connection. Just something was blocking us. Like there was something in the way. And I didn't really know what it was, and I didn't want to know what it was, because if I found out what it was, then I had to get rid of it. And so I didn't even want to think about it, because obviously I didn't want to get rid of it. So I was like, out of sight, out of mind. We're going to do this thing. It's going to be great. I'm going to learn so much about Jesus and God and my relationship with him and like all this cool outdoor stuff. We're going to go rock climbing. Don't do that in Indiana either. So I was so pumped. I was so excited. And then when all of you guys were praying for me before, like 45 days ago or so, people kept saying things like pray that your eyes would be open, because it's like, and I pray that like you will have an open heart to what the Lord wants to teach you and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's great. Like I want to do that. Like, Lord, open my eyes, but like not too much. And so then going into the course, starting the course, realizing what like there was something in my life that I was holding on to and starting to put a name to that, but not really intending on doing anything about it. And that's a weird place for me to be in, because I've never been in that place before. My entire life, what I've wanted has always usually lined up with what God wants for me. And like part of like falling in love with Jesus at an early age is that I have that relationship with him, and I don't want to hide things from him or keep things from him, because it's just a big part of who I am. And so I just kind of was like, I don't want to deal with it. And so then when we picked up these rocks that were our burdens, I finally just reached a point where I had this space and this room to confront it. And finally, it coincided with the moment I had the courage to ask, and what is this really that I'm trying to get rid of? And so, we have these rocks, and I picked a really pretty rock. It was like quartz or something. Like it was like white and really pretty. And then I dropped it, and I had to pick up this ugly rock. So that's important. Like I had this ugly rock. Like, let me hike up to the top, and I'm sitting there with this ugly rock. And I'm like, Lord, what is it you want me to get rid of? Like, I'm finally ready to ask. Like, show me. I want to get rid of it. I want to do this, And your mind automatically jumps to the worst case scenario of what he's going to ask you to get rid of, or what he's asking you to let go of control over. And so I just kind of like pushed that aside, and I was like, God, like tell me. I'm finally ready to listen, and you're not telling me. Like, come on. Like, I know you've been wanting to tell me for a long time now. Like, now I'm finally ready, and you don't want to tell me. Like, come on. And I got a little mad. I was like, I'm going to hold on to this rock until you tell me. So that's why I was so upset there was an ugly rock, because I ended up keeping it in my pocket for like 2 weeks. And not because I didn't know what it was, because pretty shortly after I told all these guys that I was really frustrated about not knowing what it was, I figured out what it was, and I just really didn't want to let it go. It was something that like means a lot to me, someone who means a lot to me. And he was like, let it go. Like, let go of control. It doesn't even mean like get that like let that person out of your life, but like stop holding on so tightly to where the Lord can't work in that relationship between us. And I was scared that would mean losing that person. and I did not want to do that. So I kept the rock because I was like, like because I wanted to do it, but if I was gonna do it, I was gonna be real darn sure that I was, like I didn't want to get rid of that thing without being 100% sure that I was gonna be able to do it. Because for me, that was something serious, and that was a symbol of like what was going on inwardly with me, and like kind of that wrestle, and like if I got rid of it, that meant I really got rid of it, and I really let go of control. Not that it would be easy after that, but like I just wanted to be really confident that this is what I was supposed to do. So I kept the rock with me for a long time. So that was through all that we like figured it out, cried a lot, hugged some people, rappelled. Part of that cool activity is that we got to rappel down. That was really cool. It was like in the middle of the night, and we're like rappelling, and I'm just learning how to rappel, and this is great. A little freaked out, but it's cool. Like a little bittersweet because I had this rock in my pocket until our solos. Because throughout the time between when we had our rocks and when we had our solos, how long was that? A couple weeks? 10 days. Felt like a lot longer. And I was able to wrestle with the fact that if God's asking me to let go of control of this in my life, it's because he loves me and he has something better for me. And if he knows me better than I know myself, he knows this other person better than they know themselves. Like, who am I to think that, like, if he wants the best for us, that I know it's better than God, and that me holding on to this and holding on to this control is going to be what's better for me? Like, why wouldn't I want what's better for me? Like, my Father knows me so well and he loves me. Like why would, like, it wouldn't, like, I just eventually came to where I was like, I I have no more excuses. Like, he loves me. And part of like my I am statements that we've all been talking about is that I am a trusting daughter and he wants what's best for me. And to truly step into that, I was like, I need to trust you with this. You know what's best for me. You love me. You wouldn't ask me to do this if it wasn't good for me. And so in my solo, we're sitting there and I have this view of this lake. It's called Heart Lake because it looks like a heart. They're very, very creative with their names out there in the winds. Like, Long Lake is long. Like, Heart Lake looks like a lake. And if they can't think of something clever, it's just a number. Like, and so I was doing my 48-hour solo next to Heart Lake. And so I'm like, you know what? I had time to process it and think about it and like make sure, really darn sure that this is what I wanted to do. So I took my rock, I walked down there to the base of Heart Lake, and I'm like, all right, this is it, Lord. This is gonna be this big moment, like symbolic me throwing it to the heart of the Lord, like it's a lake that looks like a heart, and I throw the rock out there as far as I can, but it's really cold and it just thud on ice. And I was like, oh no! I was like, this is supposed to be this big touching moment, and it just like thudded on ice. So hopefully it's warm enough up there to where it finally melted to the bottom of the lake. There were some open patches, but I just happened to hit the patch of ice. But it was even though it was a little anticlimactic, it was just like a freeing moment of like, okay, I've let go of it. I don't know what's going to happen from it. I don't know like how I'm going to do it. I don't know what it's going to entail. I don't know anything about that, but I'm willing to work with the Lord on this, and I'm willing to let go of that if that's what he asked me to do. And being open to that was like a huge step for me because I just was holding on so tightly that like I couldn't even like do anything or like and so just kind of relaxing, letting go of all of this, and that really was like a good marker of how my course went, and like that kind of defined my course spiritually. So learning all of these things and growing in all of these things, and then like realizing that the Lord knows what's best for me and he's going to have me use these things and that I'm learning in the best way possible if I just open up and I trust him with it, like open my eyes and open my heart and not hold on to things so tightly. And it's a great feeling again, to just be able to worship freely again and just to be able to not have this thing in between God and I anymore, because I was getting old. And it was one of those things where like I didn't realize how much it was affecting me until I really let it go. And we're still working on it. Like, like I don't have like a very clear vision of what this looks like, but I'm taking it with trust in the Lord, and I'm having these hard conversations, and I'm willing to follow what he has in store for us and for this part of my life. And
I'm really, really grateful that I was able to do that. And thank you guys for praying for me and for being a part of that journey with me. And I know prayer was a big part of like me being able to say, okay, Lord, like you can have your way with my life. So see you next week. I'll be here for the WMPC.
Okay. So, my name is Courtney, and like Sydney, I'm also here for the summer. Yeah, and just thinking about, I don't go out in the wilderness a lot, but I've had opportunities to go out for short times. And the physical piece is always, well, when I'm out west, is always kind of the challenge for me. And my max was probably maybe 6 days. So I kind of had a feeling of the elevation, and I'm thinking, and then times 7. And so coming in, I knew the physical element would be my biggest thing, challenge. And I don't think I was anxious about it, but I think I just like was very real with myself and saw that. And I was right. And it's only God like can orchestrate this team. People have mentioned that. This team is incredible. The instructors are perfect for our team. I've had the chance to kind of share, individually with them, but thinking about how they've helped me meet that physical limit and push through individually, whether it be encouragement, whether it be an instructor coming back after they're climbing to walk with me and show me maybe a more efficient route or whatever. Someone taking the brain of my pack as we scrambled up for the first time for a segment. And kind of along with that, it's like I believe the Lord really taught me how to receive from God by receiving from the people behind me. I'm very grateful for that because I'm not trying to be boastful, but I feel like I'm willing, and I'm sure they are, and you are. We want to be willing to serve people, and if someone was like the last or whatever, like I'd want to be there if they want me to be. So it's like, why can't I give them credit for wanting to hang back with me or help me out? So, really grateful for that. I love the opportunities that I can be in creation. I feel like my mind can kind of shut down a little bit, and his voice be louder. And I just am reminded, not that I'm not reminded in the front country, but definitely reminded in the wilderness of his provision. And so kind of along with the strength thing, thinking about, I was reading in Exodus, and like the manna, how God's, provided daily. And it was like, it might not have been bread for me, right? But it definitely strength. It's like at the end of each day, it's like I'm done, at least like for the day. Like I'm not done, but I'm done for the day. And it's like we get to camp, we set up, it's like we have dinner, we do Devo, we sleep, God resets things, and then we push again. And then I'm done for the day, and then we do dinner, and the progression. So there's that. Also, yeah, what else do I love about the wilderness? Oh, I love how, with his voice being louder, I feel like he gives me like he provided like pictures for his word, like we're with the mountains, and it's like how he says that like our faith can speak to mountains, right? And you're thinking like you're surrounded by mountains and they're so stable and so like durable and just huge, and it's like our faith can speak to things in our lives, right? And it can move, it has to move, it has to submit. So just like a lot of examples like that. And then there was snow school. So that's great. I live in Wisconsin. I'm familiar with snow-ish, not mountains. But yeah, just starting to learn how to walk on snow. And then how it was mentioned, we're learning how to self-arrest, like sliding down a mountain on purpose and being responsible to stop yourself. And they're training us. We have, precautions and things. But as some of you may know, if you've done this before, there's different positions, and the first two, I was like, okay, I mean, it's a little bit of a push, but I can do this, Position 3, I was like, Melita was helping me out. She was holding me till I was ready to release and say, like, send me, but I don't think I was going to say send me. I was like a second and a half to 2 seconds. I'm like, I think I can tap out. I've come farther than I ever have. I think I could walk away and be okay. And I'm glad I didn't. But yeah, so letting go for sure. And that played into other areas of my life. Just like, yeah, letting down burdens like people have talked about and hard seasons and things like that. What else did I want to say? I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot that God, I feel like, did. And I'm just really, really thankful and grateful, and thankful for all of you as I look around and like the send-off party. It's like, it's a commitment. Like, this is my first time out here, but a lot of you have come, you know, and send people off and welcome them back. So thankful for that. And you listen to people's stories over and over, and thankful for that. When we were starting off, I think it was just after ration 2. I knew there was going to be snow, okay, Mom, but I wasn't expecting snow in that ration. So like when we woke up one morning and it was like blizzardy, and we were supposed to travel kind of early, and I'm thinking, I'm gonna wait this out. Like I'm like, I don't know who else was in my tent, but I was like, tell them the groundhogs that it's still winter, and I was like, I'm gonna wait this out a little bit and stay in my sleeping bag until I really know what's going on. But thank you to all of you. Really appreciate you, and thank you for listening.
So you may not have noticed, but I'm the youngest one in the group. And so I came into this experience for completely different reasons than everybody else did. We're starting a nonprofit for kids, and I've been talking about it for about 5 years, and woke up one day and God says, I want you to do it now. So I'm like, okay, what does that look like? And so I started looking up Christian outdoor ministries, and the very first one that popped up was Strom, and it popped up to the all summer long program, which it has never done since then, anytime I've logged on. And it was talking about, you know, the WFR program, which is Wilderness First Aid Responder, and then it was talking about the 40/40. And then the Wilderness Ministry Professionals course and Rock Instructor 1. And God said, this is it. This is what I want you to do. And so that's a pretty big deal when you're married, to ask if you can go play for the summer. And my husband was gracious enough to let me come, which was amazing. And my reason for wanting to come is I wanted a model to look at for how to integrate the Christian belief and discipleship with children and outdoor ministries. And like, okay, so this is what I want to do, and this looks like the great model, and you know, I'm going to learn all this stuff about, you know, integrating and making God the center and surrounding that with all the outdoor activities. And this for me is like a refresher course. I already rock climb. I already backpack multiple miles. I've already done mountaineering school and all that. And so it wasn't exactly what I expected, but I learned something else from it, that I wasn't really here for this course to learn that. I was here to learn about community and to support all these adults who are older adults who are just getting into this and learning how to do everything and interacting with them on a daily basis. And that has been the highlight of this 40 days, is all these people behind me. And they're just amazing. And you may have noticed we all have a similar sense of humor, which worked well for us. And just really added to the enjoyment and the Christian fellowship of the whole experience. And so that's what I learned from this course. And I'm looking forward to doing the ministry part next, and getting all those things that I thought this course was about. And I'm going to share my I am statement last. because it's not really related, but it very much speaks into my life. And so it is, I am always with God, safe, promised a future, loved unconditionally, forgiven, and free.
I'm Titus Brown from Michigan. Um, in Michigan, I had built myself a very comfortable, safe, routine life, which is fine, except that wasn't wasn't listening to God's calling in my life, and wasn't facing challenges. I was running from challenge, and decided it was time for a change from that routine, and a physical challenge. So I came to Strom, which was a physical challenge, a little different from what I expected, heavier and much slower patience building, but definitely a physical challenge for sure. And it's 80-pound packs is pretty intense through the mountains. Um, my most memorable time was on the solo at Martin Lake. Uh, Ended up spending pretty much a day and a half down at the water's edge on this boulder. The lake was frozen except for 2 foot around the edge. And there were trout I could see coming up. And I was pretty much ice fishing, sitting there reading, and had a line in the water and catching brook trout, which was wonderful, just gorgeous time. But what really hit me was in the evening as the sun set, and we really had amazing. God blessed us there on that solo. I was scared, with a piece of a tent as your shelter, up above tree line with snow everywhere. You're on a little patch of grass. God blessed us with weather. But as that sun set and dipped behind the gorgeous snow-capped mountain, um, I swear, as instantly as that sun dipped behind the mountain, the water froze. Like liquid, warm. I'm sitting in a t-shirt at the water's edge, and the water froze over, uh, crystallized, and next morning it was almost half an inch thick, just like it had never happened. And really felt God speaking to me that through the past times, um, I've tried to listen to Him. I've felt His warmth and love, but then drifted away from that, and then sort of freeze back over, just like it never was. So I really feel challenged through this trip to be intentional and in life, and then also in community. And this has been a great community and a stretching time for me, um, sharing feelings, which we do a lot here and is not easy for me. But it's been great growing in love for God and sharing love for each other with you guys. So I'm thankful for the time and your prayers. Yeah.
Hi guys, my name's Josh Gilmore, and I'm from Jackson, Wyoming, and I've never not known about Strum. Yeah, just because it's just been through family connections, just kind of always been something I knew about, but was never anything I really had considered doing, ever. I was just like, it was just this thing that like some family friends did down in Laramie, and I was like, that's pretty cool. But I'll get back to that. So I just finished up in May, so May 20th, I left Michigan. I was finishing up school. I was getting degrees. I got 2 degrees while I was there. And I was kind of just, it felt like my life was scripted. Like from like when I was born to now, it was kind of like there's story points. And I'm allowed to fill in some gaps in there, but it was kind of like you're in school. It's like you're going to high school, and then you're going to college because that's what you do. You go to college, and then you're in college, and then you get degrees, and then you work hard, and then you work afterwards. And it just kind of felt like this. Who am I in that? And like, it was just this last couple years kind of feeling like kind of like autonomous, just kind of like I'm gonna go to class, I'm gonna do homework, and I'm gonna go to sleep, and then I'm gonna do it again for 2 years and for 4 more years, and it just kept going and going and going, and it was really bad this last year in terms of me just kind of losing motivation, and it was really hard to kind of finish up school. I did, which is fantastic. I graduated. But in that, I was kind of just like, who's Josh at this point? And so, and who's that going to be going forward? And what am I going to do? And I just had no idea. And I had switched majors so many times. And I finally settled on a couple. And the one I had the whole time, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go get a PhD. I'm going to go be a professor. And then it was just like, I hate this. And it was just like, I don't want to do this. And so like I switched majors, and it was just kind of rough. But I got through it, and I am where I am. But then I was kind of trying to be responsible, and I was like, I'm going to go get a job. Just kind of still in that autonomous kind of movement. And then my parents were like, hold on. Consider SRUM. It's like, okay. And then like 3 days later, I was like, yeah, I'll go to SRUM. It also helped that I had Emily, a really good friend, do it last year. So that was good speaking into my life of just like that. And then it was just like remembering her testimony about it. And it was just like this not in my brain at all to why didn't I do this before kind of thing. And it was just, so that's why I came. I came because I was like, I need a transition. I need to figure out Josh in a lot of ways. Yeah, because I kind of lost it. And I was still acting. It just felt like I was an actor in a lot of ways. Just kind of obligations to family. I love you guys. And like girlfriend and friends. It kind of just felt like I have to be Josh, whatever that meant for this person. And it was just like I just kind of felt weird, and just my life was split. So I kind of just wanted a start with new people. I had no idea if I was going to enjoy, which top-notch people back here. So I started at the beginning, and it's going to be a bit like the movie Memento. I'm going to go to the middle now. So it was a Devo when we were at Scotts Lake, and it was just like it was Jacob who's sitting up in the rafters. And it was about going to peaks and coming back into the flat country, and I'll explain that in a second. There's a quote that basically went, like, why on earth do we go to high places? Like, they're uninhabitable, we cannot live there, and yet we're drawn there. And yet we're drawn to go to these high places and experience them, but we cannot live here. It's completely inhospitable. We have to live down. And the parallel was searching for highs, specifically in like our Christian life. And it was like just searching for a high, and then like people just search for high and then come back down, and search for high and come back down. Just like are always in search of that, as opposed to focusing on where we live. And it was just like it just kind of it hit me like really in my heart on just like something that had prayed for me before this, and it was just like I was searching highs in my life. I was searching for a high when I went to Christian college, and it was like a high, and then I just dropped back down to I'm kind of just living again, and I just like searched for a high, and I just kind of dropped back down. And so like that really hit me on this trip of like I need to go to this high place to learn about this high place to then bring back to my life with the knowledge of that high place and have that inform my life. And so I've seen the high place, but I'm below it. I can't see it now, but I have knowledge of it. So that is kind of one way that's coming through my life. And the high point, now going back to the beginning of the trip again, following my high point, was trying to figure out Josh. And it was just like sharing my life story with like all of these people and just kind of being like, I don't really know. And then being able to interact brand new with brand new people and kind of being able to interact with Courtney and Titus and everybody here and just in new ways and just like trying to figure that out. And then it kind of like through the I am statement kind of started to I was trying to form Josh, and I sat there for an hour with a blank sheet of paper of like trying to like write an I am statement. I had nothing. And I was finally like, this is ridiculous. I've been sitting here for an hour and there's nothing and I was praying, I was just getting nothing. And so I finally just wrote, I'm Josh. And then I just wrote another stupid fact and I was just like, I'm a brother. And I just kept writing stupid facts about like just nothing. It's just like everybody's this. And then it just like started progressively getting more and more. And I just kind of felt God, as I just kept writing and just kept praying, just kept forming and just like, I'm a person who's seeking. I'm a person who loves people. I'm a person who wants to be a leader. And it just kept like flowing down, and then it started getting negative. And then it was just like, I'm a person who is so competitive that I get jealous of other people. And then it just kept coming, and it was just like, whoa. And then I finally wrote this statement, and I was like, yeah, that's it. I got it. And then added a sentence or two, a word or two that I prayed upon later, but it essentially came out with, I am a man who is striving to listen to Jesus through everything that I do, and I'm striving to nurture the skills that he has given me and use them for why he gave them to me. Yeah, and it was just like, yeah, and it's just like it kind of gave life back to why I majored in some things, and I kind of put that on the side burner, and then I kept praying, and I got like the word restoration, and then so like that like then fit into my I am statement. It was just like, I am striving to seek towards God and striving to utilize my skills for restoration, and I don't know what that means yet. I don't know if it's restoring people or restoring things or the environment. I don't know what it is. But I feel like I'm supposed to work really hard and utilize my gifts and skills for restoration. And I think it's a lot to do with like what I studied. I also think it's a lot to do with restoring relationships with people. Because I wrote a list of like 20.
Changed their lives radically, took them in different directions that they never saw coming. And we're very sure that God was directing them in this way. And I wanted that assurance that, yeah, this is what God wants for my life, and I'm doing everything I can to please him. And I didn't have that coming into this course. So I really wanted to build that relationship. And that's kind of like, people were talking about the rock Devo on top of Wolf's Head, the Night Repel. And mine was that God felt very, very distant. And I was kind of like, at that point, I was kind of like not sure why. So I just began to read a lot and like try to rekindle that desire to have a very deep, meaningful relationship that like I could emotionally and spiritually depend on for the rest of my life. And I don't think I'm at the end all be all, but I think that I have had a rekindled desire to know more of him and read his word, for sure. And that's something that like, yeah, that's important, I feel like, for me, because previously like we do family devos, but it was never something that I was like seeking out to the extent that I should have, per se. So yeah, I'm just kind of looking forward to continuing that when I get home, and really looking and trying to build that relationship where like that I know that I'm doing what God wants in my life. So, and then yeah, that was kind of what my like I am statement was that I was a son and that I have a good father who wants what's best for me. So, yep. And I had a lot of fun doing it, finding that out. So, yep.
is a little weird for me because the last few times I've done this, it's just been ridiculous. My life totally changed last year, like 180 degrees. Like I was going in the opposite direction away from God, like full steam ahead, and literally hit a tree and then turned around and my life changed. I did. I was skiing and I hit a tree. So I came into this course. I was like, okay, it's gonna be ridiculous as usual. And it wasn't ridiculous in that way for me. And I was a little confused. And I was going through the course. I was like, so when is it gonna happen? When I'm gonna have like the crazy dreams and like the crazy revelations and get my life rocked? And it like never really totally happened like I was expecting it. But it did happen as I got to instruct and lead all of these people. And 4 years ago, I think I would have thought like this was totally unattainable. Like I would never lead a course like this. Like never. Like not for a moment did I think that. And here I am doing it. And it just seems natural. And so it kind of like Emily was said, I was kind of feeling a little numb and a little like, how did I get here? And like, what is really going on? Is this real life? So I was on the solo, the 48-hour alone time, and I was so frustrated. Like I hadn't been this frustrated in months. And I experienced a lot of frustration in this course. And I was like, why am I angry? Like, I was angry that I was angry. And we're like post-holing all over the place. There's so much snow, like, deep snow. And I would post-hole like knee, crotch, ankle. Oh, I'm good. Ankle, crotch. Oh my gosh. Why does this keep happening to me? So I'm going through this course and I'm feeling like when you teach, especially if you're not super used to teaching cues, you think like, oh, everyone seems kind of checked out, like they're not really learning, but everyone's processing like internally in their minds and things are happening. But I'm like, I feel like all this work I'm doing is like not really doing anything. Like I'm not getting anything. This course is just hard. Like, why am I here? And then I finally sat down and I start reading this book, and it's a C.S. Lewis book called Paralandra. And the book is about like the battle between good and evil. It's really like the Garden of Eden, but like played out like what if they didn't give in to the temptation? And there was a whole lot that happened for me in that book. Like while I was reading that book, I was like, wow, like I can even read a book. Like it's not even the Bible, and I can have God reveal things to me, to my life. It's amazing. And one of the things he revealed in there was that I wasn't trusting him in every situation of my life. Like trusting that he put me in a situation, that I was in a situation that was hard and difficult because he wants me to grow. And he wants me to grow in certain ways and in certain roles. And not every role is easy or fun, especially when you're in the midst of it. And so that's one of the things I was learning was about roles. And the other thing I was learning was about desires. So roles and then desires. And I've just always had these desires for really intense experiences, for climbing mountains and skiing. And previously, I was really addicted to those things. And the Lord was dealing slowly with getting rid of that. And he got rid of so much of that. But I still had like this desire, this longing for something that was like away from me, like a high place. Like I want to go to that mountain. I want to do that thing. Like I still want to do that thing. And I had a dream when I was on a glacier, and the Lord revealed to me that my desires were for something that was like a high. It's not supposed to be like where you live. Just like Jacob was saying in the high places Devo, like you don't live in the mountains. Like you would not know there was an abnormal if you didn't know what normal was. So I'll just read this section in my journal. I think I'm understanding why I have been out here. And the dream I had on the glacier was more significant than I thought. That I have been longing and desiring the new, different, novel adventures, backpacking, skiing, climbing, or just novel experiences. Now I realize that the old, the familiar, the ordinary, and the everyday is in fact where all the spice of life lies. If there were not an ordinary, then there should never be an adventure. If there were not a normal, then we could never tell what was abnormal. And that the real and the best good lies at home with the ordinary, the normal, the cooking of food, washing laundry, going for walks and reading, giving and receiving hugs, talking to Yahweh, reading scripture, and cuddling with my bride-to-be on a stormy day. The real important and special places in life are happening all the time, right under my nose. The greatest joys are the simplest pleasures. Sometimes it is necessary to go to the high places, the far-off land, the wild adventure, in order to appreciate the beautiful and intricate adventure of daily life and the joy of constancy. I desire not wild adventures in the mountains or far-off lands, but the solidity of deep and loving relationships and the beauty and everyday rhythms of life and love. So that was my desire. Like, he changed the desire of my heart, and this is what I want. Like, I want to be with you guys and be with my bride-to-be and just live life. And then he also changed, like, is building me up for these roles in my life. So he changed my desire, and then I have these roles that he's moving me towards. And I read the last C.S. Lewis book of this trilogy. It's called That Hideous Strength. And a line at the end of it struck me. Jane and her husband Mark are finally united at the end of the book. But just before, Jane isn't sure if she wants to give up everything for her relationship. The main guiding character in the book says to her, "Go in obedience and you will find love. You will have no more dreams. Have children instead." And that indeed... and that indeed... And that indeed is what I feel Abba has been growing in me on this course. And I prayed for these two things. I prayed for wisdom, and I prayed to know the Father's heart. And I've been experiencing this wisdom that comes from maturity that is more caught than taught. And I asked to know the Father's heart, but I realized that he is giving me a Father's heart for all of you guys. And I first experienced that strange mix of love and responsibility leading a rope team up over the glacier to go climb this mountain. I'm just like slogging along, like I'm dragging these people up this mountain. Here we go. and this emotion hits me. It's like love and responsibility mixed together. I'm like, what is this? It's like amazing, but also like really hard. And I've never experienced that before. And now I feel it. And so I wrote this before, student-led. And now I feel this emotion again in the anticipation of meeting with all of our students again and hearing what God has done this last week. I have a great anticipation in my own life of learning these age-old and seemingly ordinary roles. First, that being a husband and a lover to my wife-to-be, and then that of a father to the children we will have. This has always been my calling and my purpose in life. My name is Andrew, and that means man. Pure and simple. It does not require heroics or a need to be spectacular. I do not have to conform to the world's picture of success when I am conforming to Yahweh's blueprint for my life. Life in abundance, more simple and ordinary, but also more complex than I could ever fully grasp. I like this quote by C.S. Lewis. Real things are not simple. They look simple, but they are not. Reality, in fact, is usually something you could not have guessed. In this passage from Deuteronomy 10, "And now, Israel, what does the Lord your God require of you, but to fear Yahweh your God, to walk in all his ways, to love him, to serve Yahweh your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and keep his commandments and statutes of the Lord, which I am commanding you today, for your good. To love God and others requires all of my heart and soul. It is simple, but I am not just a simple creature, but one made in his image. And so in that sense, to love Yahweh is infinite and takes my entire heart and soul. Nothing less than everything that I am and everything that he has called me to be. A lover, a husband, a father, and a man. And those are the roles he has called me to walk in, but not without example, because he first became all of those things to me.
Praise the Lord. Woo! All right, I'm going to turn my back on you real quick. So, all of you guys, you've finished the course. and, like Andrew just mentioned, you guys have each seen reality. Like, what you've just experienced is reality. It's not just some fake thing that you experienced for 40 days. It's the truth of God's heart. It's community. It's God's desire for you. And the way that you guys are growing into each of those things. As you leave from here, it's going to look different. But it is reality. And God is the same there that he is here.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah. Thank you guys so much for being with us for 2 hours. And thank you so much for praying for us. We really need it. And would you please continue to pray for us? We're all on this journey together. We're just starting over for some of us, continuing for others. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hey, we're gonna we can cut the live stream. We're gonna pray for these guys. So if you weren't here when they left, we sent them out. We're gonna do that same thing. It's gonna be very simple.